Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rachel Cruze Show. And this episode is really special because Sissy Goff is here. She's a counselor, a speaker, an author, and all things when it comes to kids and specifically our daughters. So Sissy, thanks for being on.
I'm so excited to be with you.
Well, I've been a fan of your work for a long time.
Me too. I feel like we've been friends.
I know, we saw each other. I was like, oh, just give me a hug, Sissy, because your podcast, Raising Boys and Girls, it's so great. And I've listened to it for a long time. And it's just these quick nuggets. But parenting, it's a hard journey, right?
It is a hard journey,
There's some
and
good
today
days.
more than ever.
Yes. And so there's good days, there's bad days, all of it, navigating. But right now you're specifically really targeting girls, and you have been for your career.
Yes.
But with anxiety. And so I want to dive into this because I know it is a huge, huge problem. So anxiety overall, our culture, but specifically with kids. Why do you feel like it is so elevated today?
You know, there are so many things going into it. I mean, I would say part of it is just the pressure that kids feel, this pace that we've been living, which got better early COVID days. Now we're seeing it get worse again. But I think that's definitely a part of it. Technology we could talk about in a whole lot of ways is impacting them. Older ones, social media. I would say too, parenting strategies play into it. Before that, genetically, if as a parent you have anxiety, your kids are 7 times more likely to deal with it.
Okay.
But
so is it genetic or is that environment?
It's genetic.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, part of it, but also environment too.
Yeah, I bet.
Sorry, you guys.
No, this is good.
It's a thing.
Okay, so how can a parent recognize this is anxiety.
Yes.
Versus something that might not be as serious?
So, well, I kind of talk about it like exploders and imploders because they respond in 2 different ways. And a lot of kids, especially younger ones, will come in my office and they're talking predominantly about anger.
Okay.
And, anger is a secondary emotion, so there's usually something else underneath it. And so my first question will typically be, tell me when it's happening. And so I'll have parents kind of trace the themes. And it's usually you pick them up from school and they think one thing's going to happen and something else happens entirely, or telling them to do something on a dime and those kids just erupt. And for them, they don't yet have the words to say, when you change my schedule at the last minute, it makes me anxious. But, if you change my schedule at the last minute, it would make me anxious, but I could say it.
Yep.
So I think those are 2 of the primary ways, like if you're seeing them explode or implode, where kids are just putting so much pressure on themselves. But also if you're having kids ask endless questions. And so the child who's like, tell me where we're going, when are we going, what are we going to be doing, over and over, or kids who, before they fall asleep, want the whole schedule for the next day. And I would add to that kids who have real specific routines at bedtime.
Yes.
That's often a picture of that. And those are coping strategies that they create. Kids don't have them, so control often becomes their primary coping.
Oh my gosh, we were just talking about my 3-year-old before we started this. But she's my one that the chair, the glider in the room, she's like, Mama, turn the chair, please. Take that toy off.
Oh,
Rachel.
And
we kind of laugh because we're like, God, Kara, were you going to Amelia's room and it's like a toy junky thing has exploded. Like it's just stuff is everywhere.
See.
But she is, so she can be more prone to be more anxious in life?
Yes, and she doesn't know I feel anxious when things are out of place, but that's what she's feeling probably already.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And I'm doing everything wrong because you know what I do before bedtime too? I tell her what we're doing the next day. Well, tomorrow mommy has work and Maggie's going to come over and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, I'm doing it all.
I think that's good. You want to do some of that. But then I think even to say to her, but you know what? No matter what we do, you're going to be okay.
Yes.
I'm with you. You're going to be okay.
Okay, so you mentioned this word, and while I have you here, I want to know. Technology for screen time.
Yes.
So give me, and I know there's probably not like a perfect formula.
Yeah.
But if you have one, that'd be amazing. But like ages, right? So like 0 to 3, and then you're like 3 to kindergarten, and kindergarten, like what's your recommendation? Nothing, probably, but.
Yeah, well, I would follow the American Academy of Pediatrics. They have great regulations in terms of that. But as they move forward, I think you basically want to have a group of other parents that you're kind of journeying with. And so y'all are deciding together, this is when we're going to let them have their first iPads. This is when we're going to let them have their first phones. This is when we're going to let them get on social media. And also to have a pulse of your child's grade, the kids they're around. And what I will recommend to parents often, because I don't think there's a magic age. I think it depends on temperament. I think it depends on what they're going through. Kids who are anxious may need to wait a little longer. But I would say you don't want to be the first, because then your child's going to be perceived as kind of cutting edge, and you don't want your kids to be known that way. You don't want to be the last, because they're often going to sneak and find their way to it. But I recommend to parents to be the next to last.
Okay, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
because then you're being conservative, but they also can't say, I'm the only one who doesn't, because they're not.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
But you're still getting to be conservative.
Yes. Oh, it's like the problems today's parents, right? You didn't deal with 20 years ago, so it's so
yes,
wild.
they had it so easy.
Today we're talking about things we need to stop wasting $20 on. Baby shoes. They're babies. They're not walking around. Don't buy shoes for them. Lottery tickets. Yeah, the Powerball jackpot. You got 1 in 292 million chances of winning, so don't waste your money. An Olaf waffle maker. I mean, pretty dang cute. I know. And the results? Adorable, but let it go. Wipe warmers. Yeah, the baby's gonna survive. Keep your $20. Clothes for your pets. I mean, super cute, fabulous, bougie, all the things, but you don't need to spend $20 on it. Guys, these things are totally unnecessary. What I do need to make sure I'm taking care of are these guys. I remember when Winston and I first got married and we talked about life insurance. Honestly, it was easy for us to talk about because we wanted to keep each other covered in case the worst were to ever happen. That's why we have term life insurance through Xander Insurance. It's $20 to $30 a month that I am more than happy to spend. Xander shops the top-rated term life insurance companies to make sure that they find you the best rates for the coverage that your family needs. You can have the same peace of mind that we have. So go to Xander.com to get started today. Don't waste any more time. So with anxiety specifically,
Yes.
you talk about girls. So what's the difference between girls over boys?
Well, so now we are looking at 1 in 3 kids are dealing with anxiety culturally, which is crazy that it's that rampant. I mean, pre-pandemic, we were at 1 in 4.
And now
And
it's
5
up.
years ago, we were 1 in 8. So it's changing that fast.
And do you think it's changing that fast, like truly, or do you think that parents are more apt to know their kids at a deeper emotional level?
I think truly. I mean, based on my experience
Experience, yeah.
counseling, I mean, right now, really any girl I'm seeing, I would say 95% of the girls I'm seeing in my office are dealing with anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it's hard. So statistically, kids aren't taken for about 2 years after it comes up because I think we don't notice. And with girls in particular, so boys, we're going to see it because their behavior is going to show it a lot of times. They're going to be erupting more at home. But girls who are anxious are often perfectionistic. They're really great kids. I wrote a book for little girls called Braver, Stronger, Smarter.
Yes, yes.
And that's because they try so hard. They're usually really intelligent.
Yeah.
They're really conscientious. And so they're the kids that in school, they never get flagged for anything. They're the opposite. The teacher's saying, I wish every child in my class was like your daughter. And so we are reinforcing the very behavior sometimes that's fueled by anxiety.
Yes. Oh, I heard that. Someone, and probably it was you on a podcast, honestly, but I remember someone saying that because they were like, when I tell one of my children to go do something and they kind of buck the system and they're a little defiant, but my other one says, yes, mommy, I will. They're as worried about both of those. We're like, hey, listen, I'm going to you have to stop the soldier mentality.
Yes.
Like there's a level where I'm like, be real, be human with me as your mom or your, as a dad. So that's so powerful. Okay. So parents that are watching that have kids, but even daughters specifically, what do you do? Like if you see those anxious tendencies come up,
So I'll tell you my first 3 go-to. Okay. And these work for any age. And these are the first things I would do in counseling in my office.
Okay.
So the first is about breathing.
Yes.
Because for any of us, when we're sitting here, if we're calm, we have blood flowing all throughout our brain, including going to the prefrontal cortex that helps us think rationally and manage our emotions.
Okay.
When we get anxious, the blood vessels in our brains constrict, and it shifts the blood flow to the amygdala, which is the fight or flight.
Wow.
And so parents will say to me, they're not like a rational person. They're like a crazy person when they get to that place, which is exactly right.
Yes.
And so until we can calm their little bodies back down, we can't get anywhere to help them work themselves out of it.
So total biology.
Total biology.
Nothing
in that
emotional.
moment. That's a great way to put it.
Yes. Get that blood flowing
Yes.
back.
So even with little bitties, 3-year-olds, you can stop and you can do some breathing with them. And I have them do what I call square breathing.
Okay.
Where they draw a line on their leg, breathe in, draw on the line, pause for 3 seconds, breathe out, drawing the next line. Breathe in, breathe out.
3 seconds.
20 seconds.
So breathe in for 3, out for 3.
Yes.
For 20
seconds of doing that resets the amygdala. Wow. So start there. Then
even adults, right?
Even adults for us. Yes, absolutely. And then, so when kids get really anxious, they're stuck in this loop. I say to kids, it's like the one loop roller coaster at the fair. So like something bad's going to happen to my mommy. Oh no, no. And they just loop and loop and loop and they can't get out of it. And so we want to calm their bodies down so they're able to. Then we want to shift their thinking out of the loop. And so grounding techniques are what we typically use. Again, you can do this with little bitty ones. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is my favorite thing to do. So tell me 5 things you see. Tell me 4 things you hear. Tell me 3 things you feel, tactile, not emotions. Tell me 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. And that pulls their focus back out of the loop onto what's happening in the moment, because anxiety doesn't reside in the moment. It's, past or future.
Yes.
So grounding. And then the third thing I do, if they're old enough to do this, is have them name their worry. And so with little ones, we call it the worry monster. With older ones, with the high school girls, I call it the worry whisperer, because that's what it feels like.
Yes.
And because anxiety is really closely tied to temperament, like we're talking about, and it's really conscientious kids. And so basically, it's going to come up again as they get older. It's going to be like whack-a-mole, and it's going to shift to basically the worst thing they can imagine developmentally. Something bad happening to my mom or dad, me getting sick, me doing poorly on a test. And so the same tools work, whatever form it takes. It's never about the thing, but they're going to make it about the thing. So when you come to me as my child and I say, you know what? Sounds like the worry monster's back to me. What'd you do last time that worked? Because the same tools are going to work every time.
That's so good. Oh, man, it's so, and again, I think it just fascinates me so much because I'm like, we are in a totally different world. Like these conversations, I feel like, or you probably were in them as a counselor, but I'm like, this stuff wasn't a big thing, or at least when it probably was, and maybe our generation didn't know about it.
No, I think it wasn't.
Yeah, but so it is so well, but so helpful because whether it's we were talking before that my 3-year-old just last night had this panic because of a storm, and she's never panicked before. Yeah. But I literally am like, oh my gosh, that's it. So you do that and you bring them back to logic.
Yes.
And let them do the 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
And then if they can name why am I worrying, and just starting to give them the tools because it helps in a small thing, whether it's a storm or it's something that they struggle with on a daily basis.
And now you could even say to her, that's worry. She doesn't have to name her worry monster, but that's worry bothering you. We're not going to listen to him because he's wrong every time.
Yes. Yeah, that's so great. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you've been doing this for how long?
Almost 30 years.
Almost 30 years. Okay. So for parents out there, so maybe anxiety, maybe not. It's what are a few pieces of encouragement that you can give parents parenting today? Because I know there's all these parenting books, all these parenting philosophies. Do you have just 3 overall tips or encouragement for parents to be whatever it is, I don't know, love your kids well, know that what are a couple of big things that parents can do?
Well, I mean, we were talking earlier about how our staff has collectively had conversations that we have never seen parents as discouraged as we're seeing them now. I just am having more parents than ever in my office crying about just feeling so overwhelmed, which of course, right now they're feeling that. And so, I think right now is probably a season to give yourself more grace than usual.
Yeah.
So that would be 1, give yourself a whole lot of grace right now. 2, I think trust your gut. Because, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still would say, sitting with a parent, you know your child better than anybody else. And so trust your own gut sense of what's right for them and what they need.
So good.
And then the third thing, and of course, I think boundaries are important, consequences, all those things at times. But just like we're struggling, kids are struggling so much right now. And so I think the third thing I'm saying to parents a lot is just enjoy them. Whatever you can do to enjoy your kids where they are, because we all need that right now.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I know, because I feel too, as a parent, especially if you have multiple and they're all at these crazy ages, you kind of are surviving the day, or at least that's the season I'm in, right?
Yes,
Where
you are.
We can do this. You kind of you're gearing up every time they wake up. You're okay, we can do this. And you do. People say it, but they're enjoy it. And those are times, if I get frustrated or whatever, Winston and I, my husband, we talk about all the time. We're okay, just breathe in. What can we do to actually have fun? Bringing fun back in is something that we're not great at. So we're trying to do that more and more. Oh, well, Sissy, you're amazing. All Rachel, the wisdom and working with girls specifically, but just kids. And I've told you though, but I have personal friends that has been at Daystar, and the work you guys do there is just incredible.
Thank
your
you.
new book, Brave, is out, and it's specifically for teenage girls. Yes, and it's all about
anxiety. And it's a journal, so they get to write in it. And
I love it. So it's for the teenagers. If you have a teenage girl at home, it's not for you, the parents read it. It's for you to give your daughter for her to go through. So absolutely incredible. Where can everyone find it?
Anywhere books are sold. And we have a website that's raisingboysandgirls.com that'll help you find your way to everything.
And that's the podcast too, you guys, Raising Boys. It's like these quick nuggets. It's so good. You'll love it. Well, Sissy, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it.
Thanks.